Coach, yesterday, Dak got an opportunity to talk to the media, and he said that there was a point in the game where CD looked at him and said something to the effect of, "Yeah, we're back." Like felt like they were in rhythm and had finally synced up the way they needed to. Did you feel that way, I guess, in the moment? And then watching the tape back, did you say, okay, here it is, it's starting to click into place a little bit for them?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought they clicked, obviously with the number of opportunities those two, had Sunday night. And then I think obviously the fourth quarter, plays really stand out. But I think just like anything, just the fact that, for as much attention and tilt of coverage that, CD gets, it's important for them two guys to be, in sync. And obviously that was a good performance, with those two guys Sunday night.
Coach, they've talked about that frustration of, trying to get on the same page like they've been in recent years. Similarly, on the other side, have you seen moments on tape where when you're watching the game back, you go, okay, that's not normal for their connection or the chemistry that they have, and I know that's going to come into place, but it's a reps thing, and they've got to get those reps in.
Well, that's just the human nature and the normalcy of this game. I mean, you have to have reps, and it's just like anything. There's a teaching progression and everything that goes on the practice field. I mean, just for instance, we're making a point yesterday. You practice routes on air. You got to make sure the receivers, there's a release component to it because, the fact that they're just going to be jumping off the line, free access every single play, and we're going to drop back and have a nice clean pocket and throw on time. I mean, those are time clocks that you establish more in the off season. It's the live reps that you need. That's just why training camps is critical. The opportunity to line up and do the one-on-one, 2-on-2, the slot drills, and then obviously the 7-on-7 teams. I mean, it's just to get that competitive, combative environment in all aspects, not just throwing the football.
Yeah, whenever we go the other way on camp and we're like, oh, does it really matter? Then CD comes out and says, no, it definitely mattered in terms of our chemistry and connection. Coach, whenever people are looking for ways to jumpstart an offense, they're like, all right, pace. No huddle. And we're always talking about complimentary football with you. You balance that against not wanting to compromise your defense. Can you explain how you approach that, how you look at that? Like, all right, we're going to go a little bit more no huddle. We're going to go with a lot of pace, but then you also want to protect your defense.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, you have to have a baseline in how you want to play the game. In offense, I've always been a high pace of operation believer, and we actually, it's a statistic that we keep track of. We keep track of the time that the play entry goes in on a 40-second clock. The time we break the huddle and the time we snap the ball, and that's on every single play in the game, and even more so in practice because there's a training mechanism to all this. So I believe you have to have pace operation as fast as you can, not only to train, but also you always want to press the line of scrimmage. You always want that defense to know, okay, here they come, because it makes them communicate quicker, and makes them look at and then pace operation doesn't stop when you break the huddle. It's really, getting over the ball, getting set. If you have a shift or a shift in a motion, is doing them with the urgency and the specificness just to really keep pressing the defense. So, so that's the starting line for us. As far as no huddle, and I mean, there's benefits of when you do it, whether it's home or away, based off of what your team needs. So I think no huddle is not just so this is when you do it. I think there's a lot of benefits to it because obviously you want to keep challenging the defense. But I'm a big believer in pace of operation, and because it's always easier to slow things down than to speed them up.
Mike McCarthy here on The Fan. When you go no huddle, is it more onus to, does the quarterback take over more calls, or it's the same level in terms of you making all those calls, or you just can't do? How does that change if at all when you go no huddle?
I mean, the percentage of it is, I think there's I don't want to say misconception. I mean, or maybe just an understanding that, football has always been played at the line. I mean, there's adjustments that are made on every offensive play, whether it's the lineman making an adjustment on, how they're going to block is, they're not going to line up in the same front every single time.
Yeah.
And if they do line up in the same front, now you got to anticipate line movement. So there's always adjustments that are made, and then there's run to pass options. There's pass to run. There's run to run, pass to pass. So I mean, that goes. So I'm just so we do it all the time. Always have. It's always been that way. But the percentage of how much is on the quarterback, maybe a little more. But that's really the world that he lives in. I mean, that's this process starts as soon as we get out of the game plan meetings on Tuesday. I mean, Scott Tolzien's on the phone with Dak and the other quarterbacks, and they're getting them the run checks immediately and the protection checks, and so their process starts Tuesday night. So they come in here Wednesday. They got to have a pretty high understanding of it, because now we got to operate throughout the meetings with the other players and so forth. So so it's really kind of your everyday deal, but it's just the quarterback's always going to have that type of responsibility.
Coach, in the 7 games, the other team has scored on their opening possession of a half on 13 of the 14 halves. What do you think has been the biggest issue coming out of the either half to start the game or at a halftime?
You talking about our opponents?
Yes.
13?
Yeah.
I think it's when you look at things, it isn't like halftime's is a huge. The biggest thing about halftime is you just really got a chance to reset. More physically and emotionally, but mentally you're making adjustments throughout the game. But it's definitely something that the third quarter production is something that we have to be better into. Clearly as a football team.
Yeah, Babe Laufenberg has always talked about that. Then Kyle Shanahan this past week, he's like, no, the halftime adjustments, that's for you guys watching the movies. It's not really what you think it is. So that is the case, right, Coach? Like, how often have you stood up? You're not on a whiteboard for 5 or 10 minutes saying, all right, I'm going to draw all this stuff up differently from the way we planned it. That does not happen.
Yeah, I think, it's really that you're continuing the conversation that you had, in between the last series, or when the defense is on. Like for offensive, we go right into a room, we hit the run checks and keep, make sure we're aligned there, and then we go through each situation, and then the coaches are out there with their players, use the restroom, and then go out and dress the team, and then it's time to go back out. And it's not as it's not
Hollywood,
right?
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it for Hollywood, of course.
Mike McCarthy joined us here at 105 through the Fan. About the coin toss, because I guess it varies team to team. Take the ball, defer. It looks like you guys have taken the ball quite a bit this year. Like philosophically, is that something that shifts over time with you and where you guys are?
Yeah, I believe the coin flip is a decision that's we make through game management and game education. We have a meeting at 2:30 on Fridays. It's myself and the 3 coordinators and our game management staff, and so we go through the officiating and just any type of reminders that we want to hit, the trends of the league. The officials have a video comes out, so we address all that, and we talk about the coin toss and just how we want to start the game. So I mean, I ideally, if you got a clean canvas, I would always defer. To me, there has to be a reason to take the ball, and that's just kind of the way I've always done it.
Mike McCarthy joins us here at 105 through the Fan. What's your assessment of Kirk Cousins? It seems like everywhere he is, like the media is always trying to replace him and find the next guy, but he puts up numbers. What was your assessment of him during his time in Washington, Minnesota?
Good player. Played in a good system in Washington. Had some good years. Played against him there, I think, twice, and obviously played against him a number of times up in Minnesota. I think just like anything, when you play a player, particularly a quarterback, a number of times, you get in tune with how he plays, and I've always felt that he was very, very consistent. I thought he was extremely productive, stays on time and so forth. But yeah, I think he's a good, productive quarterback.
Coach, they drafted Penix. If you want to give us your draft thoughts on him, sure. I'm more interested in and there's probably no one better to ask, the two different schools of thought, because developing young quarterbacks is always a topic nowadays. There's one school, right? If he's the guy, you throw him out there and you get him the reps. The other school of thought is you can scar them. They're not ready. Let them sit back and learn. Of course, now you have a salary cap and limited years on the deal that you got to play up against. What is Michael Penix learning right now on the bench, and how can that be beneficiary, even though the NFL with the contracts, they want you to play like immediately?
Well, I mean, the situation Michael Penix in is, to me, is he's in the ideal situation. I just go back to Ron Wolf, 1992. I think he really set the philosophy for the quarterback room. It's the most important room in the building. You can make a case for, and it's definitely the hardest position to play in this league. And if you look back, when he started in Green Bay, he traded for Favre and then had Brunel and had Ty Detmer and then and even had a Hall of Famer on the staff that they didn't even know it at the time. So I'll let you figure that one out for your trivia. No, but you just can't ever have enough good quarterbacks, and we got a chance to add to it. If Kurt is still the guy and he keeps playing at a really high level, the value of Michael Penix is only going to go up, even if he never plays in Atlanta. So there's draft value in having high-quality quarterbacks in that room, especially because if Kirk Cousins is playing at a high level, that means the team's doing well.
Yep.
And it's an opportunity for their value of the other quarterbacks to grow, or then you are now having the training. And what better share could you have for a rookie quarterback to be in the room for a couple of years and learn, learn the league, learn all the little things that you need to know in the quarterback room. So I don't think you ever have enough quarterbacks. I mean, it's what we have going here with Trey Lance. I mean, we have an extremely healthy quarterback room. We have three guys that we feel very strongly about, and I don't think every team can say that. And frankly, in my personal opinion, I think it'd be great if the league ever we acquired a fourth quarterback to be in the building, because I mean it's the game changes when you have a drop off at the quarterback position.
Coach, do you think that at the younger levels they're doing a good job of developing quarterbacks to play the position versus just playing a system, and having quarterbacks play 2 or 3 years at the collegiate level gives them a much better advantage?
Well, I just think what you see in sports, and especially having children down here in Texas. I mean, the club volleyball for my daughter, I'm just always blown away by the level of coaching, and then you look at the football and the baseball and everything. So I just think youth sports as a whole is so much better. I think these kids they're being educated on functional training methods and the fundamental technique opportunities that they have outside of their team is at high at the highest level than it's ever before. So I think they're definitely, the training for these guys are just in all sports is higher. And then you take to the quarterback, you got quarterback specific, it's quarterback development industry out there right now, with developing the young players. So I do think that is definitely improved. But I also think this NIL and this portal gives a guy to stay, gives a quarterback an opportunity to stay in college longer, because, you look at the stat of 1,300 pass attempts for these quarterbacks come out of college. It's a pretty good indicator of the level of experience that is needed to play in this league. And, the instincts and awareness, going back to the question earlier about how important training camp is, those live reps are so important for these young quarterbacks to play in college. And I think it's smart when they stay in college and play, because it's only going to better prepare them for the program.
Last one for you, Coach. I know how you're going to answer it, but I have to ask it anyway. There's a lot of fans who have been just furious, more towards the front office, lack of moves, no deadline stuff. It sounds like from Jerry and Steven, and that's a way of saying that people don't believe you've been put in the best situation to thrive and succeed, especially in a contract year. Would you be happy or satisfied? Any opinion one way or the other? Would you like to see maybe a deadline move or some activity for a little jolt to the roster?
I think the deadline moves, and it's really the same feeling I would have every single year. I mean, if it's a player that that fits, and can make us can make us better, and the locker room would be the first place that would be embraced. Then you do those things. But you got to remember, we're in this with our players, and we have a great group of players. We are developing in more areas than you'd like to do right now. But that's the injuries and youth can do that to you. So we just have to stay the course, keep working, and I do this team works. I mean, their work ethic is high, and we just got to stay after it and manage the noise outside and just keep it about winning football games. And I feel we'll continue to move forward and win.
This was awesome, Coach. Thank you so much for addressing all the topics. Maybe we'll get you in the Halloween spirit next year, and good luck on Sunday.
Yeah, Thursday night's that's a tough draw.
Yes, it is.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Coach.